talk this morning is titled Mindset. Mindset, one word. And indeed what I noticed this morning, since this has been so much on my mind, was that many of our conversations talked around that idea of mindset this morning. And so mindset is an established way of thinking. It is inclusive of things like attitudes, values, cultures, philosophy, outlook, and our worldview. Our personal mindset influences how we perceive situations and therefore how we experience life. Mark Twain wrote, "The two most important days of your life are the day that you're born and the day you discover why." Your why has everything to do with your mindset, with the mindset that you have about life, in particular, your own life. So we set to our mind, or we set our mind to the outcome that we desire. And we do this by utilizing the power within ourselves to direct our mindset. Just like the acorn plants an oak tree, and we are sure of that as we plant the acorn. And a tomato seed plants a tomato plant. And we are sure of that. Our mind plants the seeds and sets them into a mindset. Ernest Holmes writes, and I would say this is probably my present day greatest task, journey in an idea. He says, think only that which you wish to experience. Think only that which we wish to experience. I don't know about you, but even through all these years and all that knowing, I still fall short of that mark sometimes. The thing is, you get better at catching yourself so you can go, oopsie daisy, and flip the switch back. So I have been reading the book, I'm going to show you, but share it later, Creative Mind and Success by Ernest Holmes. I've read it, of course, repeated times, I'll just get like that, throughout this journey. But it's one that I love to pick up. It speaks to me, and it seems like it speaks to all people. He wrote it originally, Creative Mind and Success, in 1919, and the version that I have is actually the 19th printing, which occurred in 1957. So he put a foreword in it, and in it he said that he reread the entire book because he wanted to look at what changes, if any, he would make for the next printing. And he said that what he discovered was that there were not too many changes to make in it. And he explained that the reason is because when you are focused on, steeped in, thinking about, all about truth, you realize that it's ageless, it's timeless, and it's changeless. So he said that he simply made a few changes, and they were in the ways that he expressed himself in the day, and 38 years later, we were maybe expressing ourselves a little differently. Now, I take that as a valuable idea to look at, because there are times in our lives where we'll say something and someone will say, oh, don't use that word, use this word. Okay. And that's fine, because that word works for them. But my word works for me. And as our friend Carol used to say, how's that working for you? If it's working for you, it doesn't need a change. If when someone says to you, oh, don't use that word, use this word, you try it out and it's like, oh yeah, that little subtle shift made a big difference for me. Good, then change your word. The words he changed, or some of them that he talked about, were the idea of whole thoughts. Now I still say whole thoughts because I do not ever see hold as this. But if hold is this to you, then hold would not be a good word for you. And he said with the times in the 50s when he was writing this, that it was better, he thought, to have people think positive thoughts and then release them charged with spiritual energy of faith to universal law or mind. And he also talked about the idea of will. Back in the day, they used the word will. We don't use that word too often, and he said in the book he changed it to the idea of God-given power of choice. So one of the things he did talk about that had changed for him was his conviction in this teaching. He said that it had grown over time, and I thought, wow, I'm so glad to be in such good company, aren't you? Aren't you all glad? Hasn't your conviction grown over time? The more you practice and you manifest differently and you demonstrate differently, and maybe you're even walking through a situation that seems a little challenging to you, but you're walking through at the core of your being, knowing the peace that resides within you, knowing that any and all answers are revealed through you, and opening yourself to that goodness. He said that his conviction grew because he witnessed the use of the principles in the world, that he had seen the works and realized the idea of the truth that sets you free. And the truth that he's talking about is, of course, God, principle. And the free that he's talking about is free from man-made dogmas and superstitions that tend to restrain one's thinking. Free. Free to allow your natural self to emerge so that you can step into life authentically. We all know that the mind of God is the one original mind of all that is. But have you ever thought about the idea that since that is absolutely the truth, your mind then must be made of God's mind? You have the same power of mind individually that God has universally. By thinking, we set in motion a power that is creative. It creates for us. And that becomes our mindset. Our own thoughts influence how we perceive life around us and within us. So what we also know, and an idea that this book talks about, is that we do not have to become a success. We are born a success. And yet we often experience situations in our life of fear or lack that appear to bring failure to us, even though our natural state is that of success. We can only experience that success to the degree that we give over to it. A mindset of faith brings the experience of success. Either fear or faith becomes the mindset which creates for us in our life. Ernest wrote on page 12 in this book, every business, every place, every person, everything has a certain mental atmosphere of its own. The atmosphere decides what is to be drawn to it. It's like a magnet. So each one of us can bring to mind someone that we consider a success in life. It could even be yourself. And we can picture them. We picture their physical stature and the way they stand and the way they hold themselves and the way they talk and the things they talk about. We can picture that. And likewise, we can picture the opposite. Our mindset is the cause of our mental atmosphere. Now you've heard me talk a little bit about what I call the Eeyore mentality. I want us to really understand that idea because it shows up in all those ways that I just mentioned. Eeyore is the donkey, if you're not familiar with him, in the show Winnie the Pooh. And he's very cynical and gloomy. And he makes comments like this: "Nobody listens to me anyway. The nicest thing about rain is that it stops. I wish I could say yes, but I can't. Well, if it is a good morning, which I doubt." And when you look at pictures of Eeyore, his head is always down. That mindset creates a mental atmosphere. Every time I practiced our talk together, I would feel myself going like this. And I'd say, "Oh, remember your posture, dear?" Yes. So what we place ourselves around, who we place ourselves around, the thoughts that we allow ourselves to think, and yes, allow ourselves because we don't have to think them. Do we have to think in order to get things planned and organized for our lives? Sometimes, yes, but not always. Some things we just need to let go and trust the divine, have faith. So again, I say to you, think only upon those ideas that you wish to experience.
I think it's pretty safe to say the mindset is the primary focus of our teaching. It's what we're all about. It's setting our mental processes to manifest that which we wish to experience in life. And so we've set a positive mindset, change your thinking, change your life, set a positive mindset. And I was thinking about this week, and the phrase ready, set, go kept coming to mind. And I realized, that's really part of the creative process that we're talking about. Choosing from the range, the realm of possibilities and bringing it into manifestation in my life. Ready, set, go. We ready the mind to receive. We set an intention, and then we let it go into universal law. Each element in this process can be quite challenging, actually. I was thinking it was readying the mind to receive. Quite often we don't feel worthy to receive in the first place, or we don't feel we have the capacity to receive anymore. Even though it is good, we just don't feel like we are actually able to receive it at this time. And then setting an intention can be quite challenging because I really do believe that a lot of us don't really know what it is exactly that we want. How do you set an intention if you don't know what you want? If you don't have a plan on where you're going to, if you don't have a 5-year plan, how do you set an intention to get there? And then letting it go. Of course, we know there's great comfort in familiarity. And we have a trouble with moving on into a new experience when we're stuck where we are. I remember last week I was talking about how do we change a condition with the same state of mind that created it in the first place. Now, here we are today talking about state of mind and mindsets. The truth is that there are no impediments between where I am now and where I want to be, except in my own mind. That's the only place where there are any walls, any shortcomings, are in my own thinking. The creative process, the symbol here, seems to have a very specific order. We talk about it, the idea that there are infinite realm of possibilities. We choose from those possibilities. We place that into the law and we hold it until we actually believe it and have faith in it, and then it will become manifest for us. We see a very definite process going on there in a specific order. And I feel like as soon as I can figure out how to have the required amount of faith and choose what I want and let it flow, and eventually it's going to get to the point where I can actually experience it. It seems like it may take a while, but actually it happens instantaneously. So step into the world of immediate gratification. Recognize that it is possible to immediately be gratified with that which we thought about. I know most of us here grew up the same in the mindset that I grew up in, where it took a long time sometimes to be able to get that which we wanted. And I remember my mom would pull out the great big fat Sears and Roebuck catalog, and go through, and she found a little piece of paper, and she'd write all these numbers down and put them in an envelope and send them off in the mail. 2 or 3 weeks later, we'd get a phone call saying that your stuff is ready. We had to drive into town. And there wasn't a store there. There was just like a little post office kind of a place where you walk in and you pick up all your stuff and take it home. And imagine in those days having Amazon drop stuff off at your door, or even DoorDash. You make a phone call and within 10 minutes it's at your door, delivered to you. Imagine what that would have felt like so many years ago. The truth is that we know in science of mind that thoughts held in mind produce after the kind, and there doesn't need to be any time or space element involved in our reception of that which we desire. Quantum physics tells us that too, and I'm not going to talk a whole lot about quantum physics today, but I will let you know that it's immediately available. All we do is collapse possibility waves and receive that which we wish to experience. But there's a lot of stuff going on under the surface to make that happen. Lots of tiny little things happening in quantum physics. I was reading a book by Michio Kaku recently. He's a scientist, and he talks about GPS. And I thought this was absolutely fascinating, and I thought it was really relevant to this idea. There are 32 GPS satellites orbiting the Earth at various trajectories and angles, moving at about 17,000 miles per hour, about 12,500 miles above the surface of the Earth. Our cell phone must receive signals from at least 3 of them and triangulate to find our location where we are. Einstein's law of special relativity states that the time moves slower at higher speeds. Lost my place. So the clocks in the satellites beat slightly slower than the clocks on the Earth to compensate for that difference. And according to Einstein's general relativity law, time moves faster as it moves away from the Earth's gravity. A cell phone signal travels at the speed of light, so that must be factored into the equation as well. So the laws of special relativity and general relativity are in opposition. So this creates some really challenging mathematics. But your little cell phone factors in all these equations along with the rate of speed which you are traveling at the time to tell you exactly where you are within less than a second. There's a lot of stuff happening under the hood. There's a lot of stuff happening where we can't see it going on. But that's true in all of life. That's true in this creative process, in our belief systems and the things that we actually are holding in our mind that keep us from receiving, that are unconscious. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later. All we have to do is initiate the process. That's all we have to do. And the GPS won't tell us where we desire to be unless we tell it where we desire to be. So we have to know what we want, what we desire, and initiate the process. Spiritual mind treatment doesn't really go anywhere. It doesn't have to go into space. It doesn't have to go 17,000 miles per hour. It doesn't have to worry about time and space. It's a consciousness. It's in the here and now. And it takes as long as needed to condition the mind. The system is automatic. The mental process to set it all up may take a little time.
So the interesting thing about this idea of mind setting is that we are constantly doing it. Just like that cell phone David talked about is constantly knowing where you are. I've noticed recently every time I get into my car, my phone dings and I look and it tells me how many minutes till I get home. Just because I got into my car and turned it on. And my cell phone must be connected somehow to it all. He probably knows. But we're always using it, whether we are using it purposefully or not. We are constantly engaged in mind setting. So I want to share one idea from the book that Holmes talks about. And I purposely chose something that, that is not necessarily something that we're all experiencing, but just so that we could look at a distance, mindset-wise, from this idea. And he writes, thoughts of failure, limitation, or poverty are negative and must be counted out of our lives for all time. Somebody will say, well, what about the poor? What are we going to do with them? Are they to be left without help? And he writes, and you can hear him, no, 1,000 times no. The power that is in them is in all people. They will always be poor until they awake and realize what life is. All that charity on earth has never done away with poverty, and never will. If it could have done so, it would have done so already. It could not, therefore it has not. It will do a man 1,000 times more good to show him how to succeed than it will to tell him he needs charity. God has given us a power, and we must use it. We can do more towards saving the world by proving this law than all that charity has ever given it. And I think that that is so beneficial for us to think about as we live our lives for ourselves and for our loved ones. I was thinking about that, not just with the idea of poverty or lack or limitation, but in every area of our lives. And I love this saying, energy cannot be created or destroyed. I use it often, and I finally got why I use it often. Energy is what we call God, and the qualities of God are that energy, and none of them can be created or destroyed. They are. They already are. There's nothing we can do. Love cannot be created or destroyed. Love is. And this love is and creates a mental atmosphere that we can choose as our mindset. I think it's wise for us to remind ourselves of that often, and remind our loved ones. I know that as I was writing that and reading about it, I picked up my phone and immediately texted. We have a family text. Texted family group and text positive affirmations for them for the day. Because those things remind us of the truth of who we are. And we all need that. In our humanity, we all fall short of being able to think only what we want to experience, although we're working toward it, right? So, silently within yourself, know that the power of goodness within you is successful, peaceful, joyous, and loving.
Mindset and state of mind are synonymous terms, and I came to the realization that they're very similar, but they are actually different. Mindset has that idea of setting your mind, so it has an intentional, active activity going on in our own thinking. State of mind is something that can be affected by outside circumstances, but mindset is something we create on our own. So, what is your current state of mind? Did you set it, or did you let it be influenced by things around you? Thought has power that can affect or infect your mental health. You set the tone for what you wish to experience, and your mindset can be conscious or unconscious. And it could also be conscious and unconscious at the same time. We can have different aspects going on that are unconscious while we're thinking about something consciously. And those things have great influences. Unconscious thoughts influence conscious experience. So Are those positive influences or negative influences? What are you allowing to happen within your own mind? We're often attached and grounded in opinions, prejudices, routines that create mental ruts. And these can infect our well-being, putting us in a negative mindset or a negative state of mind. So how does your memory act or infect your current life, your current mindset, your current state of mind? Unconscious factors held in mind influence current conditions. So we need to remember to create a current mindset. Create a current, positive, productive mindset all the time. All the time. I was driving in the truck the other day, and I looked at the clock, and I said, oh my gosh, where has the time gone? I don't remember being out this long, but oh my gosh, what hours gone by? And I realized, oh, I haven't driven the truck for a while. And the last time I drove it was before daylight savings time. I just never changed the clock. So I came up with this idea, don't operate your mind and get stuck on daylight savings time. Live in the now.
Absolutely. That imprint of success is written boldly in the one mind. And the successful person taps into it and is sure of it. They're sure of what they're doing, the choices they're making. They're sure of the outcome that they will receive. Like attracts like, and success breeds success. So let's have a little fun here. I am going to give you 3 words, one at a time, and I want you to just hold to the first thought that comes to mind for you as I say the word. You ready? Yes, we're ready.
Yes, we're ready.
The first word, age. And here's the statement for it. Age is just a number, and numbers have no power over you unless you allow them to. Number 2, money.
Ka-ching.
Money is just a number, and numbers have no power over you unless you allow them to. Number 3, weight. And once again, weight is just a number, and numbers have no power over you unless you allow them to.
I just remember Reverend David Carter used to say, you stop preaching, you started meddling.
Yeah, when you're talking about things like that. So it has been suggested that whenever we catch a negative thought, it comes through our mind, that we replace it with 3 positive thoughts. Think we can do that? Whenever you catch a negative thought coming through your mind that creates any kind of negative energy for you, say, nope, not today, baby, and replace it with 3 positives. What that does is trains you to flip the script within your own mind so you are purposely creating your mindset, the one that you desire according to the results that you want to and aim to experience. So in the final analysis of all of this, you are exactly as the mindset you think yourself to be. And so it is.
So it is.